profound they all share, which is the time spent enduring, wishing, wanting. At last could never exist without that period of time prior to. Good or bad, long or short, there's a time spent waiting, and then, at last. When I was young, I grew up near something called the Dog Hole. Local legend has it that the Cherokee Indians that once thrived there used to drown their dogs in it. Not all of them, I'm sure, just the weak or broken, like the Spartans of ancient Greece, carefully selecting their offspring. I spent every summer at the Dog Hole, as it was just a half mile from my childhood home. The hole itself was 20 feet below a dirt road that led to my house in Runaway Hills, located in Burningtown, North Carolina. Those who know me as an adult are mind-boggled that I actually came from such a place. But I did, and I took part in everything the locals did. From the food, whether it were collard greens and cornbread, biscuits and gravy, hot chow chow, or a 7-Up cake. My mom never made those things because we weren't from the South, but I found my way to tasting everything that the world was known for. I chewed tobacco, flavored and regular, red man. I camped out, I shot guns, I watched livestock be slaughtered. I was a country boy, or now looking back, I can honestly say that I know what it's like to be one. I grew up in a house tucked away from sight, hidden from anyone that might pass by on the hard road. That's what we called a road that was paved. The Dog Hole welcoming us each day as we returned from town. I say returned from because it was a trek. We were a good 30 minutes from civilization, so any time we went out, it was a trip. We were on the wrong end of a miserable bus route as well. Because of where our house was geographically located, we were the first to be picked up in the morning and the last to be dropped off at night. What that meant for us was waking up an hour and a half before school so we could get ready, walk half a mile in the dark, and wait to board bus 103, which for the next hour would be filled with one unique character after another. The bus itself was driven by Clara Ball. Clara was born and raised in the Appalachian Mountains, and she was damn proud of it too. It took her a while to warm up to me and my brother Tony, but she eventually did. But one thing was for certain. We were not locals, and if she had to take sides, she knew where she would stand. The first to board after my brother and I were the Lewises, a brother and sister combo that really made me stare. They were 4 years apart, but eerily identical. There was the oldest, Lacey Lewis, a chubby-cheeked blonde with an even chubbier belly sliding out of her undersized shirt, red-faced and toting a backpack. And then there was her brother, Billy, a mirror image of Lacey, just in male form. The creepy thing to me was that their parents stood with them at the bus stop, and you know what? They were mirror images too. It was as if thing 1 and thing 2 gave birth to thing 3 and thing 4. And I've recently seen Lacey on Facebook, and no shock to see she gave birth to thing 5 and thing 6. The next house was the horse lady. These people irritated me. They had horses on their property, hence the clever name that we gave them. They had recently moved there, and in doing so took up residence in what truly was my brother and I's playground, the mountainside. Goofy-eyed Wayne was next. He was that prick on the bus who would never say a word to anyone his own age, but loved to terrorize me and my brother. He actually did that thing where you turn your class ring around in your hand and thump kids on the head with it. He was the first person I ever took a swing at. Bacon Bits was next. I actually felt sorry for him at times because he had a massive scar on his head, and I thought something horrible must have happened to him. He was mostly quiet, always wearing headphones, but damn that smell. We called him Bacon Bits because he reeked of it. The smell wasn't actually of pork. It was from the wood that his family burned. And that was the unique thing about all of us. We all used wood heat to warm our houses. But we never smelled like bacon. We burnt pine. Next was Katrina Roper, the dirtiest of them all, always wearing sweatpants, teal or pink. We always knew when those sweats had been recently washed based on the darkness of the stains on her ass and thighs. I always dreaded the day that she might plop down beside me in her dust cloud like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. There were others in between Katrina's in school. Jessica Welch, a childhood crush. She reminded me of a cute little chipmunk. Her mom was a teacher and spoke and dressed as if she were one as well. I loved it. The last stop on the route was the dreaded Lenny Arby. Lenny was what seemed like a full-grown adult. She looked as if she should be hanging out at a Love's or a Flying J. Hell, she looked as though she had just eaten a truck driver and donned his clothes. A black leather jacket covered her man-sized torso, black jeans, black boots, her eyebrows big, bushy, and black as well. She was the second person I ever took a swing at. Lenny lived at a house for battered women then, but I suppose I do now. The whys of it all. Why there were only girls that lived there and why all of them were one of two people. One being silent, shut off to the world, and two, like Lenny, being the loudest and most obnoxious and always talking about sex. But I get it, and I wish I could have then. Perhaps I would have been able to reach out to one of the girls, to befriend her and show her that there were men in this world who were just as soft as women, or in my case, I would argue, even softer. That was the thing about this bus route, or maybe all bus routes for that matter. One loop around small neighborhoods, dropping off and picking up children in grades K through 12, and you can get a pretty clear picture of the type of person they were, the type of family they came from, and quite possibly the future that awaited them all. You see, just as cities have their dividing avenues and street corners, one block glittering like the Gold Coast of Chicago, the other gang-ridden and weary, thus do mountain towns. The wealthier kids with white-collar parents live within the city limits, the blue-collars in just the near outskirts, and the rest, the no collar, no shirt, no shoes, no service, live way out in nooks and crannies named Buck Creek and Burning Town, Yonts Creek, Rose Creek, and Wild Cove. I felt lucky that we had to walk a half mile to our bus stop. Not a single soul in Macon County knew what my house looked like. Others were not so lucky though, like the Moody Home girls. The bus stopped there every day right in front of that huge sign that read Moody Home, House for Battered Women. We all knew at least a glimpse of what their lives looked like. So each day I would step off bus 103 and breathe out an exaggerated sigh of relief. At last, that ride was over. But looking back, I realized that the at last moment wasn't appropriate until now. For only now I can say at last that time is over. Those years spent enduring bus routes, those hours spent gazing out of windows, casting external judgments. For I now see that in life it's impossible to ever know who is who and who is going where. Who is a boy from the city, or in my case, just a boy from Burning Town.